would have been there, they'd all have that information already. And good morning, all ready, everybody. Here we are on the Wholesale Real Estate Investing number 226 by SAHA. That's us. We are SAHA, for those of you who don't know. That could be a lot of different things, but we'll just leave it at SAHA for today. It's Solid House, Arizona right now. We are prepped for big things, so it could be anything else in the future. And today is Negotiation New Op Day, where once again we get back into the Dale Carnegie book of How to Win Friends and Influence People, because it is your relationships and your ability to handle people that is going to create your success, not only in wholesale real estate, but everything you do. And it goes right back to the very beginning of this book. And you know what, we're going to touch on that here a little bit, because we've actually completed part 1 and part 2. So I figured before we jump into part 3 that we should just do a complete recap overview of the first 2 parts of this entire book. And I want to start with the very first piece here in this book, and it's how this book was written and why. Okay, and that's what I was just talking about right there. Why is this important? Why was this book written? Why is all of this stuff that we talk about here important to you? But before we get into it, I want to introduce you guys to the business partner here, Field General Extraordinaire, Mr. John Leister. Where are you hanging out from, John?
I'm hanging out 10 feet away from where I woke up this morning, my bed. This is as hard as I ever work, really.
Dude.
I love these hangouts. Thanks for having me on here, Paul. I'm actually hanging out from Phoenix, Arizona, literally 10 feet from where I woke up this morning. And today is, as Paul said, Negotiation New Op Day. And you know what? I know we have some great content to get into. Don't want to derail this. I'm going to go ahead and just quickly turn this back over to Paul to start getting some meat on the sandwich here this morning, because I know there's a lot of content here. This book right here I'm holding up is excellent. This is the SAHA agent, the Sell a House Arizona system for dealing with people. Of course, there's a little bit more that goes into it. We've got scripts and ways that we approach people and certain things we say. But everything that I say and all the ways I approach people are all based on methods directly from this book. So if you want the secret sauce, if you guys are going, how do these two not so attractive, regular, average, everyday Joes that wake up and go, I think I'm super attractive, but I'm just saying, you know, I'm not the polished, GQ kind of guy, I'm a construction worker by heart, but that's not really who I am anymore. What makes these guys successful? These regular Joes, how do they deal with people and do so many deals each and every month? Well, it's because this is a big part of it, this book here. So welcome. Paul, take it over, get this thing rolling, and let's start getting into some content here.
Well, like I said, your ability to deal with people is basically going to set your level of success at anything, and that is exactly why this book was written. Back in the day, when Dale Carnegie was giving courses to engineers, I'm not going to get deep into the book here. I forget exactly what the courses were about, but he was giving courses to engineers. Okay, these are brainiac people who spend all their time, working on creating things on paper and all that sort of stuff, and figuring stuff out and doing all those sorts of things, right? These people generally didn't have a whole lot of, quote, people skills. They spent their whole entire life growing up in a book, with their nose in a book, right? They weren't out socializing on the weekends because they were studying in school like they should have been. So here's the thing. Here's what he found, is within these groups of engineers, the ones that were complaining about what was going on in their organization, in their business, in their company and whatnot, were the ones who were the best engineers in the building. And while they were the best engineers in the building, someone else was getting the promotion. And that's when he realized that the problem is these very book smart people who could do their job better than anybody in the building weren't getting promoted because they didn't have the people skills to go out and sell themselves to their boss and be, and be that likable person, et cetera, and so on, that is the one who got the raise and who got the promotions. And that's where it all started. So that's, I mean, it just goes all the way back to that in how powerful your ability to handle and negotiate and deal with other people comes into play in everything, not just in wholesale real estate.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's also a little bit in the beginning of the book here I just want to point out, too, about how to best utilize this book. He suggests going through this book, and these are great tips for anything that you're going to study. We're a nation of students, and most people don't know how to take notes, don't really know how to study. They know how to cram for a test. Well, this isn't a book that you just cram. This is a book you need to study and implement. And he kind of suggests a couple ways to best use the book. First of all is read every chapter 2 times. And I've gone and done that. I would read a chapter, kind of quickly go through, get the basic idea of what he's talking about, and then go back over the chapter again. And the second time, really study it, highlighter, a pen, a notebook, and really take note of the different things. And then beyond just that, I even think this is like right before you even start the book, right here on page 1, how to get more out of the book. I don't want to get bogged down in that, but he says you should review this book regularly, which Paul and I do every Monday. Stop and ask yourself questions about how you can apply each suggestion of the book. Begin developing a desire to master the principles of human relations and practice these things. Go out, have conversation, take a concept and stay aware of it. And, he has a few suggestions. Yeah, keep notes. That's what I've doing. Make a game out of learning these things. Paul and I should made a game out of this by simply coming on here every Monday to share this great stuff with you guys. So get the most out of the book, focus on it, use it as a study manual. It's not something that I think you got to get this book and read it in a week and brag to everybody you read the book. This is a book that you should go through and take years to it could take years to master. So right there it says, trying out each and every principle of the book. Well, what are some of the overall principles we've covered so far?
Yeah, exactly. This book is not just a read. This isn't just something you pick up and read to get all the information out of it and you're done. If you have ever read any, this is a study course, okay? It's a study course that you pretty much are studying your entire lifetime, because you know what? Any book that you read, especially when it comes to self-development of any sort, any book that you read and go out and apply some techniques, whatever, so and so, blah, blah, blah. Anytime you pick up that book in the future and read it again, you're going to get completely different and new information out of the book, because you are not the same person that you were when you read the book last time. So each and every time you pick up this book, while you're reading the book, you're learning and growing and changing. And the next time you pick up this book, because you've learned and grown and changed, it's a whole new book. And you're going to get completely new different ideas and concepts. I mean, it's written the same way. The ideas and concepts are all the same that are in the book, but you are going to perceive them from a new angle, from a new light, from a new point of view, and you're going to get even more out of it. Which takes us to these fundamental techniques in handling people. And this is where, on these fundamental techniques, these are the basics. These are the most important part, that you go and you read these pieces over and over and over again. And every time you read these pieces in here, these 3 basic principles in here, you're just going to get that much more out of it. There's a saying by the fighting Shaolin monks that says, I am not afraid of the man who knows 10,000 strikes. He has practiced just once. I am deathly afraid of the man who knows 1 strike. He has practiced 10,000 times. So that's what we're getting at here, is the fact that these 3 core principles right here, the more you read these, there's so much more in-depth knowledge and information and principle and technique and everything that you're going to pull out of these each and every time, from these very same words that don't change on the page, but they change up here because you become a new and different person each time. And so these principles are, the 3 principles in this book is, number 1, Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. And this is very important because when you criticize, condemn, or complain to or about other people, the only thing that you're doing in that person is you are building or generating resentment. Okay? And if you build resentment in someone, when are they ever going to be on your side? When are they ever going to be on your team? When are they ever going to agree with you? When are they ever going to freaking like you? Okay? You're burning bridges before they're even built. You want to take the next one, John?
Yes. Okay. I love this. And if anyone's got the book, turn around to page 50, and it kind of outlines at the end of each section of the book. This is why I love this book here. It's an easy study manual. Here are the concepts we're going to go over right now. So in a nutshell, the first 3 principles discussed in the book, the fundamental techniques in helping people, as Paul said. Principle 1, don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Principle 2, very important, give honest and sincere appreciation. And I stress the words honest and sincere because don't just say shit to compliment people for the sake of saying shit to compliment people. Excuse my language. I'm a little rough. People like it, actually, believe it or not. Anyway, the reason being is people can spot that sleazy used carsman, salesman sort of approach. Like, if you're just saying things to say things to people, most people kind of pick up on it, and it can leave a little bit of a subconscious disgust for you. But if you give an honest and sincere compliment to somebody, like I'm sure Paul, he's a really smart guy, can kind of get a little bit more in depth in this. See that? I just complimented Paul. You know what I mean? It's very, natural, sincere way of doing it. That's principle number 2 here.
Yeah, exactly. And what principle number 2 does is, when you're giving somebody honest and sincere appreciation, what it does for the other person is that it gives them a sense of importance. It makes them feel good. And when you got people that are, when you get somebody feeling good, and you can get somebody that because you've given them honest and sincere appreciation, and they now sort of, they feel important and worthy, they now generate this whole idea of, okay, I'm very interested, this person cares about me, they like me, they want to see me succeed, they're helping me, they're giving me, showing me what my good stuff is. And when you do that, obviously there's always going to be times when, improvements need to be made and whatnot, and you can break through the barrier of not turning people off first before giving them the information about the areas in which they lack. When you start off with the areas in which they lack, and you save the good stuff for second, you've lost them from the very beginning. Because as soon as you start off with, oh well, you did this wrong or you did that wrong and this is how it needs to be fixed, but then you know what, actually you did this really good and that really good, they don't care now. It's too late. We don't care. You already just blew me out of the water and made me feel like crap. So when you give the honest and sincere appreciation up front, it's very important to always start to open. That's why it's a fundamental technique, to opening with the honest and sincere appreciation. Praise them for what they do well. So then the third one here is to arouse in the other person an eager want. So in all actuality, the first 2 principles sort of participate in the creation of this arousal of an eager want in the other person. Like I was just saying, when you make somebody feel important, that is where, they feel important about what you're talking about, and now they actually want to do whatever it is that you want them to do because you've made them feel important.
Absolutely. Okay, did you get into principle 3, arouse in the other person an eager want? I apologize, I got distracted for a minute. Important text message had to go out before 9 o'clock.
No, I just basically kind of wrapped it in how the first two sort of actually work towards the third one in the arousing the eager want by making somebody feel important. It gives them the inner feeling of wanting to do whatever it is that you want them to do.
Absolutely. And that's the secret sauce in there. It's like and let's relate this directly to wholesale real estate. You know, whenever I'm sitting down with somebody about buying their house, I'm arousing in them the desire to want to sell me the house. Every circumstance is different. You find yourself working with somebody that's in foreclosure and they're living in the house, they're not really wanting to sell the house. They may have to in order to avoid foreclosure, but that's where you have to make them feel good and arouse that want. Make them feel like, okay, I'm not criticizing or condemning or complaining about the situation that they're in. Well, we're kind of therapists when we deal with people. So I don't criticize them or condemn them about the choices they made that led them to foreclosure. That would be ignorant. But I'm going to talk to and introduce the situation, the problem to them. Find a way to just make them feel good and appreciated. Thank you so much for your time. You seem like a smart guy. Let me offer you some options here. You don't have to lose this property. You're smart. There's ways around this. Let's brainstorm here and figure out how I can help you to not just let the house get foreclosed on. And my options that I'm showing them are, showing him why selling to me is the best option. And by the end of that conversation, he's eagerly wanting me to be the guy to step in and buy the house and save it from foreclosure. And, we have ways to do that, which we don't have time to get into. But these three principles in a nutshell all play into each other just like that. So which leads us to part 2, the 6 ways to make people like you. So now we know how to, the fundamental techniques for dealing with people. And now what are the, geez, that's loud. My ringer. I'm sorry. 6, part 2, that leads us right into part 2, 6 ways to make people like you. I apologize. I didn't realize I had my ringer left on. Why don't you take it over, Paul? I do have to take this real quick.
Okay. See, when you start, your first step in working with other people is that you want to get people to like you, because there's one basic fundamental principle is this: people will do business with those with whom they feel that they know, like, and trust. So like is a very important factor. You want to get people to feel like they like you. When they feel like they like you, then they can start cultivating the feeling of knowing you. And when they feel like they like you and they know you, guess what? They feel like they trust. They feel like they can trust you. So that's why it's so important to get people to feel like they. That's why it's so important to get people to like you. Is simply because that's your first step in completing the trifecta of know, like, and trust, which is going to get people to do business with you. And just to tie that all into the 3 fundamental factors here is don't criticize, condemn, and complain. Give honest and sincere appreciation and arouse in the other person an eager want. What John was saying there with the foreclosure person is that they, especially with the foreclosure people, because they're already in denial, they're already embarrassed or ashamed for being in their situation. They don't want to talk to anybody whatsoever about anything. So if you can, at the very, very beginning, skip the whole thing about the house and everything else, and if you could somehow just get this person to, just shine up to you a little bit and just like you a little bit in some way, shape, or form, you've broken down that first barrier, which just might get them to open up just a little bit more and want to be able to work with you, or at least hear you out and see what you might have to offer. So principle number 1, so there's 6 principles in how to get people to like you, okay? And principle number 1 is to become genuinely interested in other people. And that is a very, very important factor, because one of our mentors likes to say that everybody's running around tuned into the same wavelength, or the same radio station, and that is WIIFM, and that stands for what's in it for me, right? And so people don't care about you. They don't care about what you have. They don't care about what you do. They care about me. They care about what can you do for me? what's in it for me? What do I gain out of this? You know, where do I come in? That's what people care about. So when you become interested in that, genuinely interested in this other person, that's when they start to feel like they can know you. This really goes a long way in getting people to feel like they know you, because you're genuinely interested in them. And then the second principle, I love this one because it's such a hugely complicated principle, and it's simply this. Yes, smile. Okay, a smile basically says three things. It says, hey, I like you. Are you? I'm happy to see you. Shoot, what is it? I'm happy to see you. I enjoy your company, and I like you. You know, I mean, in just a smile right out of the gate says those three most important things. Is I'm glad to see you. I like you. You make me feel good. You make me happy, and I like you. Okay, just those three things right there are big in breaking down the barrier. You got to understand, people have a barrier up against other people to start with, especially in today's world. I don't know, maybe it's the whole thing of being pounded upon independence for so many years, and being independent and having to do everything for yourself, and now combining that with the whole world of technology, and you having to basically almost having to do everything for yourself now, and being so tied up in your little machines. But people have big barriers up against strangers, people they don't know, never seen before. And your first job is to freaking, blast that barrier down to at least low enough to where you can see them face to face. So a smile goes a long way in doing that. It puts a person at ease. It gives them the impression that you're on their side. And then becoming genuinely interested in them right out of the gate gives them the whole feeling of, this person cares about me. They're interested in me. They're the WIIFM. This person has something in this for me. And then the third one here is, remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. You want to take that one, John?
Absolutely. You know what's funny? I was I knew you were going to be talking about the smile thing as I immediately unmuted my computer, just because of the big old smile you had on your face. And I was, without even having the volume on, I started to feel good just seeing another person smile. That's how powerful a smile really is. Principle 3, remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. It is so true. It's in, think about it. When you meet a bunch of people and that one guy who seems to remember your name really stands out in your mind. Think about it. It doesn't mind. I get insulted when I am introduced to somebody and I'm talking to them for an hour, and by the end of that hour, they don't even remember my name. I'm not consciously offended, but on my subconscious level, I kind of don't like that guy. I'm like, hey, you didn't even care enough to remember my name. It's very important, and to use that person's name in conversation, especially in a sales situation or a negotiation. Because, if I'm talking with Paul and he's a prospective seller and I'm trying to win him and influence him to my way of thinking and lead him in the direction of selling to me as his best option, I want to say stuff like, I understand, Paul, your reluctancy to want to sell this house. And, I apologize, Paul, that you're in this tough situation, but let me show you why this is the best option selling. So give me a second, Paul, to pull out my comps and just kind of show you some stuff going on with the property. Using that person's name in conversation so it flows, because on some subconscious level, he hears Paul and he's like, it brings him back to attention. It brings him back focused on me. It's like, oh, he knows my name. Oh, he's alerting me to something. It reins in their attention, because as it says, it's this most important sound to them is their own name. It brings them to attention, kind of gives the impression that you remember them, you care about them, you're familiar with them. And the book has a whole chapter devoted to that with a bunch of examples of why. But everybody should be taking notes and write that down. Figure out a way to remember people's names and use it often throughout conversation. Don't overdo it. but do it. And then
this is probably a really tough thing for a lot of people too, because I mean, how many people do you talk to that, like you just said, you're in a conversation and, before the conversation's over, at some point in time, they're like, I'm sorry, what was your name again? And how many people have you ever talked to or asked about or said something about remembering names? They're like, oh, I'm so horrible with names. I'm great with faces, but I never remember names. And, this is something that a lot of people struggle with. A lot of people have a hard time with. I'm one myself, but, for many years, I was a person who, oh, hey, how you doing? My name's Paul. Oh, yeah, I'm Joe. Hey, Joe, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I already forgot his name. 3 words freaking got out of my mouth, and I forgot this guy's name. I mean, just that quickly. And it's a very powerful thing to, it's a very difficult thing for people to incorporate some sort of a mechanism to start turning that around. And you really, really do have to come up with a way to sort of start working on this, especially, like John said, in this business, you initiate a conversation with a person, a seller, somebody you never know. You definitely want to start, getting accustomed to using that name. I mean, use it right away in the sentence. I mean, in the very first sentence after they told you, use their name in that sentence so it helps stick it into your mind. This is the one too that you have to kind of be a little bit careful of, because we talked about that big in the fundamental technique of of giving honest and sincere appreciation. If you overdo it a little bit with the name, that can sort of start to come off as a little bit, a little bit cheesy and a little bit not so honest and sincere. So there's kind of a fine line there where you definitely want to be inserting and using their name at key points, but you don't want to be just peppering every sentence with their name either.
Exactly. There's a healthy balance to all of this, the sincere appreciation and the name. In the spirit of time, there's 3 more principles to go through till we catch up to part 3, which I'm excited about getting going next week on part 3, because this book just keeps getting better and better. But principle 4 in this section is be a good listener and encourage others to talk about themselves. Very good. When someone's talking, listen to them. Don't just wait for your turn to speak. Concentrate, focus on what they're saying, and ask them questions and respond to what they're saying. And you can learn how to ask them questions to lead them into where you want to go with the conversation. But learn how to be a good listener. We're given 2 ears and 1 mouth with good reason, and we need to learn to use those things in proportion. We should be listening twice as much as we should be talking if we want to be successful and win people to our way of thinking.
I was just saying, a quick little challenge for people. The next time you engage in a conversation, listen to your brain and catch yourself, and I guarantee you'll catch yourself thinking about what you want to say instead of hearing what the other person is saying. And that's something that you need to switch.
Big time, you need to overcome that if you can be successful. And then, encouraging others to talk about themselves. I'll just throw in my system whenever I meet with a person in their house to sign a contract. Now, all these people I meet with are pre-qualified, and 99% of the time, I'd say that I get to the point where one of the noodlers or a team member or a driver or a caller brings me in to sit in someone's house and close a deal. I'm closing 99% of the time. Honestly, because I think my system works. And my system is I go in there for 1 hour. And out of that 1 hour, I'm only talking about the real estate for about 15 minutes. And I feel if I've gone in there and spoke about the real estate as soon as I get to the house, or I spend more than 15 minutes talking about the actual transaction, I've screwed up. I'm most likely not walking out of there with a deal. So what you say, what do you talk about for the other 45 minutes? Whatever the hell they want to talk about for 45 minutes is what I talk about for 45 minutes. I look for cues around the house to ask them questions about their family, their pets, their vacations, where they got this awesome vase, or, oh, this is a beautiful table. Where'd you get? Whatever. I get them talking about themselves. I get them building rapport. I get them feeling comfortable with me like I'm an old friend. And then I bring it back in a controlled manner to, You know what? Oh man, I could talk with you all day. You're great, blah, blah, blah. You know what, Joe, though, we really need to kind of talk about business now. So, let's change gears. But what you said about your dog, oh man, that's so cute. I got one myself. Oh, here I go again. Let's bring it back to the business. Oh, Joe, I could talk to you all day about this, but we got to do business now. And you might be thinking, what in the world? I don't know. It works for me and it works fantastic.
And that directly ties right into principle number 5 is talk in terms of the other person's interests. Okay, I mean specifically right there in a case where you're looking to go close a deal, you spend 45 minutes not talking about the deal. You're talking about something, anything that interests this other person, getting them to feel good just by and here again this whole talk, letting them talk about their what they like, talking about themselves and talking in terms of their interests. You're not, again, you're just bringing that sense to them that they know you, that they like you. Those two things right there. That's what this whole chapter is all about, is getting people to start, is shifting people from the wall up, who is this freaking stranger, to, oh, this guy's all right. I guess I might kind of like him. Oh, okay. Kind of feel like I'm knowing this guy. This guy, he cares about me. I kind of know this guy. To, you know what? I can trust this guy. Let's do business together. That's what this chapter is all about right here. this whole part 2 of getting people to like you. And so, like I said, yeah, that whole, what you just said there, talking in terms of other people's interests, looking around, find something that stands out. They're obviously, whatever, stuff around their house, they're obviously interested. It's not generally too hard to pick something out that they are interested in and start blabbing about it. And so the final principle here is to make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. And that sort of ties into the whole, back to the fundamental principles that we were talking about, is giving honest and sincere appreciation. That's how you kind of make people feel important. You make them feel like without blaming or complaining or putting down things that they have to say, you're agreeable, you're somebody who is on their side, so to speak. Hey, if somebody wants to complain about something and you're passionate about that same thing in the opposite direction, who cares? You want to get them to like you, complain about it with them. They're going to be all over you on that one, especially when somebody's complaining about something, even more than when somebody's talking about something that they like, and you're like, oh yeah, that's I watched that TV show too, that's a great show. But as soon as they go, oh yeah, but that one guy on there, I hate that guy. Oh yeah, I hate that guy too. Boom, you just bonded. That's your buddies for life right now. You hate the same person.
Yeah, I just want to throw in about principle 6, making the other people feel important, and that's ties it all together. That's why I'm asking them questions about their family or things in the house or the dog. That's why I'm using their first name often throughout the conversation. That's why I'm giving them an honest and sincere compliment whenever it's appropriate at an appropriate time throughout the conversation. And you do all these things because it's all about making the other person feel important, and you're doing it with sincerity. So that kind of perfect timing, because we're actually 3 minutes over time, but that kind of leads us right into where we'll take up next week, which is part 3, how to win people to your way of thinking. This sounds like it might be a very important section of the book that we're going to want to break down over the next several weeks here. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and toss it back to Paul. Final thought, close us out with the Napoleon Hill prayer, and I'll just let everybody know that I want to thank you for joining us on the Hangout. Leave a comment, send us an email at thepropertynoodlers@gmail.com, and come back Wednesday for more fantastic content. We're here 3 days a week, Monday, Fridays, and Wednesdays at 8:30, talking about wholesale real estate, mainly focusing on the personal development side and the negotiation people side, which I think is something that's overlooked by a lot of the gurus and a lot of the programs out there. And I think it all comes down to you and how you interact with people is going to be the most important pieces that and skill sets you're going to want to learn how to master in order to be successful in wholesale real estate. So go ahead, Paul, take it over. I'll see everybody back here on Wednesday.
Let me just say this: in wholesale real estate, what are you out there trying to do? You're trying to get a contract to purchase a property, right? So do you think it might be important to know how to win people to your way of thinking? Aren't you thinking that I would like you to sign this contract? Wouldn't it be a good idea to win them over into that way of thinking? I think this next part of this book might be actually kind of good. And with that, oh universe, I ask not for more riches, but for more wisdom, which was to make better use of the riches given to me at birth, consisting of the power to control and direct my own mind to whatever end I might desire. And with that, just like John said, we'll see you back here on this is New Update. What am I talking about? Wisdom Wednesday for some more gold and information that you're not going to get anywhere else.